Welcome back. This is our second lead this evening, and it's coming from Noida, and it's very, very worrying. They say school is where a life can either be built or destroyed. The 12 years that you spend in your classroom shape your future. But what happens if this very temple of education is the home to some of the most shameful acts that we hear of? It will shake your trust in the institution, right? Well, that's exactly what has happened in one of the most prominent schools of Noida. We are not naming the school. A 16-year-old class 11 girl was on the receiving end of sexual and physical harassment in school, and the culprits are allegedly her very own classmate, 16 and 17-year-olds. But what's even more shocking is how the school reacted or didn't react to the girl's complaints. It all started on October 9th, when a group of 5 boys, who are also minors, molested, threatened to rape, and kill this girl. This because she refused the sexual advances of one of the 5 boys. Fast forward to October 13th. The minor girl is slapped and her head is banged against the wall by the very same boy she had refused. His friends also allegedly joined in and assaulted this girl. A complaint was filed to the police the very same day by the victim and her parents, and an FIR has now been registered, and all 5 accused have now been booked. But that is not what the real worry is. Of course, it's a worry when you have 16 and 17-year-olds harassing, molesting, issuing rape threats to their classmates. What is even more appalling is how the school reacts to it, what the school's attitude is towards this entire shocking saga. Remember the date. On October 9th, the very same day that the girl is harassed, first by this group of boys, she writes an email to her principal, highlighting how she was inappropriately touched and there were obscene comments that were made at her. Now, this young girl wrote another email the very next day to the school's director that claiming that one of the boys was pressurizing her to kiss him, and when she rejected, he made vulgar remarks against him. So 2 complaints to the school. First complaint, you decide, well, to call in the boy, reprimand him, get an apology, leave him, and then the repeat offender does what he does. It's only after the second email that the school decides on some sort of action. The principal summons the group of boys. But what happened then? They were let off with a warning. Can you believe it? The victim's father, speaking to mirrornow, is also alleging inaction on the part of school authorities. He's even going on to claim that the accused boys did not have any fear because they were somehow, well, connected to some political party or the other. Listen in to what the father is saying.
So, when did this happen? When was the email sent to the school administration, and what was the response which you got?
There are a group of 5 students in the class 11, and on the 9th October, my daughter was sitting in the classroom. Behind my daughter, these 5 students sit down and they start abusing. They start the words which I cannot say on the publicly, and very shameless, very, very shameless, and they force my daughter to accept their wishes. My daughter denied. They force my daughter to make the sexual relations, and they said, we have the political background. I am the nephew of the BJP existing mayor of Bareilly, and my grandfather is a retired police officer. Same time, my daughter escaped from the classroom, and she wrote a mail to the principal, to the director, and the admin departments. She clearly mentions, I have faced the sexual harassments Please justice me.
Let me go across to my guest this evening. Dr. Sudha Acharya is an educationist. Yashwardhan Azad is a former IPS officer. Just to tell you that the Noida police has served a notice to the school saying, why did you not act? It's shocking that you decided not to act after the first email was sent to you. But Dr. Sudha Acharya, I want to come to you first and I want to know from you what, how you comprehend what has happened in the school and how the school has reacted to it.
Yeah, this is most unfortunate incident that can happen in any school with young adolescents. So this has happened more or less in some parts or in India or in Delhi also. We have heard about these cases. You must have heard about boys' locker room, girls' locker room happening during pandemic and afterwards. So every school has their SOP. Like if I talk about my school, I also have my SOP, how we handle these cases maturely and diligently, taking parents as equal stakeholders of the school, children, of course. So there has to be human connection. I mean, there has to be a counselor, there has to be dialogue. So that has to be in place. All of us, we have our policy. But I can't blame the school here completely. Instead of having knee-jerk reaction to these incident, we should work on the root causes, why this is happening. The children are so privy to undesirable content on social media, the instant gratification, no mutual respect. So these are empathy, kindness, and gender equity and equality. This should be part of our school education. So when children are using social media unethically, unmonitored, any adult supervision, this kind of cyberbullying or this kind of language they are picking up. So we have to really counsel these students, both boys and girls, how to use social media, because this is increasingly we are finding in one school or other. So we should have our SOP in place. But there is a scandal or reprimandation, instead of using these words, these are young adolescents. So we should work on them, change their thought process, change their mindset, so they can be productively contribute towards the nation building rather than involving in these kind of activities.
Okay. Yashwardhan Azad, Sudhaji's argument is this. A, they are young adolescents. I don't blame the school completely, because the first thing that a school will try and do is not ruin the life of a young boy, but try and counsel the boy or a group of boys to do better, to not sort of utter the sort of language that has been uttered and not to molest their own classmate. But do you buy it? I mean, these boys cross the red line. There is, there are some acts for which an apology is acceptable. But then there are other acts for which an apology simply doesn't cut it. And to me, this is that act where you threaten a classmate with rape, you molest her, you bang her head against the wall.
2-3 points, Shreya. At the very outset, let me say that over the years, the authority and the personality of the principals in many schools have completely been degraded. There is a lot of difference in the period that we were in school, or even in the last 20-30 years. The principal's word was final, and even the most influential parents would not dare go to the principal and ask him for something wrong. Today, what has happened is no principal wants to get involved with anything to do with the police or outside. And if politics is involved, oh my God, they never get involved. So you're absolutely right. On October 9, when the complaint was made, the principal should have been tough enough, should have called and given them a notice for expulsion. He should have called them to or catch their ears by their hand through their legs, and then ask the girl, do you forgive them or not? This is the kind of punishment which should have been given to the principal and given the notice for expulsion. That he did not, or she did not do anything, really shows that the school completely failed in this. The other thing which I want to say is that you might have SOPs, the world has changed. I totally agree with Dr. Saiba, what she's saying, that the root cause should be addressed. But yes, that is a root cause which should have been addressed in the last so many years, because these boys are now in 10th or 11th. Today, in the day of social media, in the day of Netflix, the society which is going way ahead, I mean, it is understood that the parents who are well-to-do, who are influential, should show the basic manners to their children. Don't these children respect their sisters and mothers? What is the reason for them not to, respect in the same way another classmate? That's exactly the kind of thing they should have been taught. If they are not taught, is the fault of the parents and is the fault of the principal. And third, the other thing, which is quite related, Shreya, is that unfortunately, stalking for one, which is going on in Delhi, stalking, chedchad, troubling a woman is not taken seriously. Everything is ki mana una ke hum suljha lenge baat ko. This doesn't work. The school has to be very, very tough and intolerant on any kind of indecent behavior. This is a school which is a respectable school. How can you allow this? So I totally blame the school, and I do hope the school, the police is going to take a very, very tough action. Mind you, these are all minors. So punishment is 3 years. But yes, if there is a kind of the court, the juvenile court, thinks that there should be an issue where they should be treated as adults, be it. I don't care, but this kind of behavior should not be allowed, and nothing should be brooked any quarter on this count.
Okay. Dr. Sudha, then the school failed on 2 counts. A, controlling the indiscipline of these students. And mind you, I'm using a very mild word here. This is way beyond indiscipline. Indiscipline would probably be bunking school, not issuing rape threats to your classmates. But even when this girl writes to the principal on day 1 on October 9th, the response is calling the boys and asking them to apologize. Shouldn't their parents have been called in? Shouldn't they have been informed? Shouldn't there have been some sort of exemplary punishment for these boys? I'm not saying expel them. No one here is arguing that a young boy's life should be ruined. But look at what they have done to this girl. Scarred her for life, probably.
Yes, of course, I believe that parents should have been involved. Immediately, if come to principal's knowledge, then all the boys' parents as well as the girls' parents should have been involved, and they should have been called to the school. I'm not privy to the whole incident, what happened in the school, but what we are coming to know from media and all, of course, the things could have been dealt most maturely, more diligently by involving all the parents and school counselor also. I don't find school counselor anywhere in the scene. So nobody is talking about expulsing.
Yeah, that's true.
So we can work on it. And of course, we have to give some exemplary punishment. That is, of course. And but that should happen in front of the parents. Parents should realize, and we must educate our young adolescent to accept no and say no. That kind of progressive schools, we are doing a lot of workshop, lot of orientation, and we have peer educators also, those who are doing mediation and conflict resolution and handling these kind of cases more maturely. So the school counselor and school should have a structured mental health program and sensitizing young adults how to respect each other. Gender equality and equity should be a part of school education.
I'm sure it is part of a school education. I'm not naming this school because there are many, many other children who study in this school. But of course, this is one of Noida's best schools. It is one of the most expensive schools in Noida. So I'm sure they have a counselor. But if the counselor was effective, maybe what happened wouldn't have happened. And I'm sure the harassment didn't start just with a rape threat. It was incremental.
Yeah, when the child is
so
bullied,
I mean, it's all very well to say we have a posh committee or we have school counselors. Are they effective? If they are effective, then why do your students not trust them enough to go to that? And how will the student trust the system to work for her or to be with her? But she went to the principal. She wrote an email to the principal, then she wrote an email to the director of the school.
Dialogue and connection is not there. I mean, if this thing happened in our school, there are
अब नहीं है ना तो स्कूल की फेलिंग ही है डॉक्टर सुधा.
Yeah.
It's a failing of the school. Yashwardhan Azad, I have 20 seconds, but then this is a complete failing of the school, where a girl who comes to you, whose parents send you to the, I mean, what is the relationship between a school and a parent? It's a relationship of trust. I'm trusting you with something that is most precious and important to me, and I'm handing my daughter over or my son over to you for those 6 hours or 8 hours in that circle of trust. This is my daughter's safe area. Nothing will happen to her here. And the school fails that trust.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the other thing, Shreya, is that this has gone beyond the civilized limits. Come on, if there's a rape threat, what are you talking about counseling? That's why I said the first thing the principal should have done is to give a notice for expulsion to the parents. And when they come, he should have asked, why shouldn't I give this case over to the police? So that the parents then come and rub their nose or whatever they do and see if the girl and the girl's parents accept whatever they have to give. So in that respect, the principal has totally failed. I don't agree with any of the things about the counseling, because if these minors behave like adults, ask themselves to be kissed by the girl, then they slap her, then they physically touch her, and they give a rape threat. Come on, they are behaving like an adult criminal. So the first thing is notice for expulsion, call the parents and say why the case should not be given to the police. And that's why they have completely failed in this. And I am sorry, I don't agree.
Okay.
Because, and last thing which I want to say, Shreya, is after all, there are traditions at home, जिसको हम संस्कार कहते हैं. वो घर पे भी जो बात होती है, जिस तरह से वो इज्जत करते हैं अपने माता पिता की या अपने बहनों की, उसी प्रकार they get the same kind of training in school, how to respect the teachers. What nonsense is this? That you tell a classmate all kinds of things, and if she complains, you're saying, हाँ वो माफी कर दिया तो छोड़ दिया. This is ridiculous and happening in one of the best schools of Noida. I'm sorry, this is unacceptable.
Okay. So before I wrap, a couple of things. This is now a police case, ladies and gentlemen. And secondly, the school in Noida has issued a statement, and they are saying that they are cooperating with the probe, and that this was, for some reason, they say, an interdisciplinary failing or failure or problem. Third, I want to tell all our viewers that we wanted the school to be represented and their voice to be represented here on the show. We had sent them an invite. We were simply told that they are not speaking on the matter, and maybe they have their reasons. So we'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much, Mr. Azad, for joining us, Dr. Acharya for joining us. It was good to get your perspective. I hope this is a cautionary tale for all the parents in all the schools who are probably watching this broadcast. Thank you very much.